In a world where Africans have lost their roots, it has become of vital importance to document our ways. In an effort to reverse the brainwashing of the past, where we were made to believe our ways are demonic, we are pressed to create dignified and respectful platforms to unpack our spiritual ways.
MOYA light, MOYA bright. Guys, we are growing. We've got now the political series that we're starting today. Thank you so much for all your support and all your love. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. It helps in building the community. It is a great privilege today. We are in Women's Month in South Africa. This is the month that thousands of women marched on the union buildings to get our passes removed and to just fight for the rights of women. And we've come a long way, but we also have not come a long way. And I've brought these two women today because of the state of the nation specifically. Women are no longer, we're not seeing women in leadership anymore, and we can see that the country is disintegrating and there's moral decay, and perhaps it's the time for women to come together. So this morning I've got our public protector, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, and our favorite doctor, Litchfield, Tshabalala, always here on the podcast. Dabulela kakhulu bomama for agreeing to come together. I think most importantly why I asked you to come in is because as women, we're not standing up for each other and standing together. And it's showing in a lot of things that are playing out right now in society. So I don't know if you want to pitch in and how you feel about how do we get women to mobilize and come together?
I was thinking when I was coming here that if African gender, not just South African, because it's a continental problem, if African gender was my student, would I give it competent, capable, or excellent? I think it depends per country. There are countries that don't even fit these three categories. They are below them. I would give ours capable because the laws are there. But competent and excellent, no. It's almost like we take one step forward and two steps back when it comes to gender in this country. It's like I'm a broken record, on this particular issue. It still doesn't make sense to me how in 100 years the ANC hasn't produced a woman president. There's no woman president in all the political parties, as a matter of fact. And it doesn't look like it's even in the horizon. Utalaku, it's something you see shining there. I don't know what they call utalaku in English. Advocate. Yeah, it's shining there, but you never quite touch it. Yeah, you see it in the horizon.
Yeah, when you're traveling a distance, you would see some light there.
Yeah.
But you don't. When you reach that place, it's not there. It's there.
It moves further.
It's like a talk shop.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree, Mama. I think. And it's interesting to see as well, that there's no political party now, not only in South Africa. Actually, Zim is voting when? Today or tomorrow?
Today.
All those candidates are male. Your US, now is the Biden, Trump is trying to come back, no woman. Indeed, it's a challenge worldwide. Not only in South Africa, I think, but because South Africa now we are referring to the ANC, the movement, which is 100 and what years?
I think 101 this if not 102, we can count.
So then how are we going to do that? Because you know what I saw, even with the Me Too campaigns and stuff, we're very selective about supporting each other as women, And we seem to forget, but if it can happen to you, it can happen to me also. So your voice is not really about using your voice for you. So how do we foster that energy amongst women?
Ntsiki, the issue of women, men, is concerning because I don't drive. So I Uber and Bolt 100% of the time. And from time to time, I get into an Uber or Bolt of a driver who was robbed maybe a month before or 2 months before. And they will tell you that it is the woman they used to call it in. So, and then when you get there, the guys are there. Human trafficking in the world cannot happen unless women cooperate and they are there. It's just in our families shouldn't be at this alarming rate if women in the families weren't interested in covering it up. So in Zima, issue of an African female, and I will tell you why, and advocate, I'm glad that you actually stretched it. I said African phenomenon, you're actually saying it's a global phenomenon. In Zima, African female, because pre-colonially, African women were in the leadership space. I always say this. I mean, once you go to what they call BCE, before the Common Era, Christians say before Christ, you are spoiled for choice in terms of the public offices African women occupied. And you look at that, and then you look at the interregnum of colonialism and slavery that happened, and you look at us now, so-called post-colonial. I don't know what's post about it because we are still colonized. And you look at us now, and surely you can say, advocate, something happened in between. And we know what that something that happened in between is. I mean, it was destruction of culture, colonialism. We were given foreign religion, foreign social systems, because religion comes with social systems. So you can tell. And I think the big thing for me of what we're going to do is this constant reminder to African women how great they were. But also, do you know what? White women too. You know, there's a resurgence in Europe now of people who want to go back to what was Scotland before Scotland was Scotland. We were Celts. What was Celtic culture? What was the position of women in Celtic culture? And surprise, surprise, because those were spiritualities too, not religion. The position of women was far better than what Christianity came to put them at.
But let's go back to the issue of before Christ and the issue of the Bible, man. I think let's go back there, because even in the Bible, women were holding very strategic positions. Do you know that? And that's not promoted by those who are religious, because the issue of Christianity is a spirituality.
Yeah.
It's what you believe in. Every person has a belief. I mean, there's daughters of Zelophehad in the Bible whose father had only girls. And the father died. They didn't have a boy in the family. And then the culture was, or that practice was, only boys inherit. They petitioned God and said, no, we know that the laws are saying this, but we also want and we demand our fathers. God said they are entitled to it. So it's not what religion or the Bible is oppressive or patriarchal, but God himself said, Ukamaku, you are entitled to that as girls. And there's a lot of women who fought the system. I think a lot of people are laughing because, well, Mina, that's what I'm believing in. Esther said, I'm going to the king. If I perish, I perish. And indeed, he managed to save his nation. So women are powerful. But going back again to the issue here, power of a woman, and how the I'll refer to the devil, or I'll refer to the demonic spirit, how they hate the power of a womb and the procreation of a woman. It's a question of destroying a woman because they are scared of procreation as women. I mean, we are carrying, Kulunkulus trusted us to carry a child for 9 months to bring life to the system. There's this other guys who are speaking about the spirituality, where they are even saying why they don't allow women to go to the tomb, because tomb yongwaba, but when a woman, because you carry life, hence you don't need to be. So issue ye woman is being fought at another level.
Manje ke uyabona, once you talk procreation, you are affirming my position actually that religion is the death of women, because African spirituality has what is called cosmology, or in fact religion has it too. So in religion, cosmology would be creation. In African spirituality, cosmology would be how Shona people believe they came into being, how Zulu people believe they came into being, how Yoruba people believe they came into being. And if you look at all the stories, the coming to being of Africans is not gender discriminative. People come forth, like AmaZulu believe bahlubuka emhlangeni, which is why the redance a big thing for them. Yeah, umhlanga kanomkhubulwane, and that's why it's a time of rebirth, of planting. So ba believe ukuthi bahlubuka emhlangeni, badabuka emhlangeni. That's why AmaZulu awathi uphuma phi bathi udabuka phi, isigodi sakho. So but ukudabuka kwabo badabuka as both genders same time, ayikhe yaphuma enye yakhishwa kwenye. So while I firmly believe, and because I've read the Bible, yes, there are women in the Bible, and there are women who've done great things in the Bible. The problem in religion, as in the religion of the book, which is Judaism gave birth to Christianity, gave birth to Islam, because is that cosmology yakhona is so male stratified that religion then orders gender relations that are gender stratified. Ngoba like uthi advocate uqamata, I ask people about uqamata or umvelinqangi or umwari for amashona or oludmare for amayoruba.
Uzim. I was referring to Kamaku because she's Xhosa.
No, angali ngiyavuma ukuthi like mawuthi uqamata. NgesiZulu masithi nangesindebele isinguni sonke. Masithi asazi ukuthi is it a male or a female. Has it ever struck you? Yes. So asina into ebizwa gender grammar. So when people go and they say Mvelinqangi is a male or Uzim is a male, I always ask them, did you see him? Ngoba besingabakhavi, we didn't have a written book. And we don't have gender grammar, so who decided to go to email? Ngoba thina masithi uqamata afuthi ke amashona. I think many others, even Yoruba, are doing even better than us, because amashona bona mabaya kumuwari bayembini, they appeal to the male side of muwari. Kabeya kumuwari befuna uncedo, they appeal to the breasted muwari. So right there you see ukuthi akayo gender demarcated. How you approach them is what you need at the time. If you wanted to plant, you would go to them, appeal to their femininity side, because we were the agriculturalists. So I think into religion sihlaba lapho wena advocate ukuthi it does contribute in a way
between religion and spirituality.
Yes.
So I think most of the time when I speak the Bible, people then think religion. But ikantike asibuyele ekutheni, what is your belief system?
Yes.
Because indeed, your religion has all those and bringing all the cultures and oppressiveness and everything which is bringing into our relations.
Yes.
Unfortunately, then it goes further. Uguti, we are faced with this thing. Uguti, we only have males who are standing up as if they are the ones who are leaders. But let's then say, where is the, what can we do as women to make sure uguti we change that in our generations to come? Because now the system is also doing what, it's doing what when a doctor is that it's also then attacking issue of family.
Yes.
Family structure, the disintegration of families, the issue of depopulation, and the issue of promoting ugutino issue yokuzala, because who's giving back? For me, I would say, if then you destroy the family, the women, the family, and then you also impact on the nation at large. But now how can we change that to make sure ukuthi sizala ke women leaders and women presidents? How do we break that?
It's redefinition, advocate. Ngoba, look, if you don't know who you are, you can be redefined by anybody. And Africans have been redefined all the time. Masqale ngabala ekhaya before we go outside. We were Bantu, we were Kefa, we were, what were we called? Something.
The natives also.
No, native, but there was one that wasn't even a description. It was the name of a department, but that became us. So,
Bantu administration or
no, ayikho nabo Bantu.
administration,
Uzoyikhumbula.
no, yeah.
So we've been redefined.
Derogatory as well.
And in that redefinition, we truly will lose ourselves because it's still sticky today to even say African. I mean, I just came from a training, I won't say of who, but I mean important government people, where the use of the word African didn't sit okay with people. And I'm just like, it's so tough to be an African because before apartheid, you were a Kefa and an African and a Bantu unapologetic. You had to own it. Now you have to explain yourself.
To alien.
To
an alien.
An alien. Or how we were defined.
As well,
No. Igama, it was an existing department that was responsible
Sorry.
for Africa. Yes.
So
it
now
was a department that was responsible.
Was an issue?
It becomes an issue because a colored will tell you, so when you say African, where am I? An issue colored, I think we should talk about it
I
here.
think so too.
It confuses me, Nziki, because you get colors who will tell you straight in your face because some of them are darker than me. And they've hair, I mean, that's just African unapologetically.
Yes.
And then you'll walk up to them unknowing in Cape Town and you'll say, and then they tell you with a straight face, now, you don't know what to say. You feel pity because the fact that they are colored, which means mixed race, means they have blackness in them. Now, why are they allowing the system to gravitate them towards the whiteness of their ancestors, but not the blackness of their ancestors? And I'm not saying the aunt who are doing it. I'm
It's
supposed to be colored. I'm supposed to be colored myself, because I'm a Litchfield. But I just had a family that was made into colored Eswatini. And the beauty of Eswatini is there's one nationality. So whether you're colored, Indian, Chinese, whatever, you all do Swati at school and you all speak Swati. So by the time the Litchfields come here, those who chose to agree with that, speak the language. But obviously there are those who chose to side with the definition of colored from South Africa. So they only speak Afrikaans. They lived in colored areas. And I'm sure at one stage of their lives, they also have used the K word, although I can't be sure, but I am sure, it's a phenomenon of pre-94. So i-colored liyahlukumeza wena advocate ngoba.
So we've got a lot.
We have a lot. And I always say, African Americans refused the categorical classification of colored. They were once called colored.
Yes.
And they refused.
Yes.
That's why there's a joke about Trevor Noah. He was colored here, was figure US and realized, I'm black. It's African American, not even black. African. Because they're called African American.
Although they've got their own politics that are happening now.
No, I know.
Seen that
but
foundational American.
I know, but
where they're
at
just
least
distancing themselves. I'm sorry, I'm just.
No, it's fine. But at least in Tsigi, the categorization is where you start.
Yeah.
Because if you don't define yourself
Identity.
as African, yes. If you don't define yourself as African, and you define yourself as colored is not a race. Right there, they are confusing you and misleading you. And Abalaikaya, what breaks my heart, Ngabo, is that while Afrikaners fight for the survival of this minority language, which we have a history of 1976, happened because of the imposition of Africans on black people. So while Afrikaners fight for the survival of this language, and we say it's a minority language, they always say, no, it's not a minority. The whole colored population speaks Afrikaans. That's why I like Abaset Deben who speak English. Still a colonial language, they speak English. Still colonial, but okay. It takes the issue out of the survival of this minority language that must be imposed on all government documents and on everything. They have their own channel. You minority, guys. They're a minority.
Then it comes back then to the key issue we're busy with now, the women leadership.
Yes.
Ukuthi then if we still have such issues as the causa us not to work together towards a common goal.
On a race level.
1956, you had all categories. Various women from various backgrounds. I think, how do we generate and go back to that thinking so that we forget ukuthi whether I'm called African or colored or Indian, but the fact of the matter is women coming together, forget about all those stereotypical issues and say, as women, can we support one another? Can we stand together? How do we change the mindset?
It's in the mind.
Because even now, you find that the system uses, especially the imperialists,
they put us up against each other.
Women
Yep.
and of your color
Yeah.
to oppress and cause and inflict pain
Yeah.
towards our own. So starting from there, Gushuguti not even addressing the issue of men, but starting with women.
The issue.
The very same woman, when you say Kanene, and then she will say, no, I'm not speaking that language or Kefa's language.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing we need to teach women when I advocate is not to run with cliches. Whenever I hear something on the news or when I see a system dead set against a person, like in your case, I always say, okay, what is it that they are not telling me? I hear what they are saying, but what else are they not saying? Because with every story, there's what they tell you, there's what they are not telling you. So if we can teach women, whether they are colored, Indian, African, white, not to run with the cliches. The common cliche amongst coloreds now is, I'm not black enough, but I'm not white enough. I don't know who coined that rubbish. Because during apartheid, coloreds were second-class citizens, and they enjoyed that privilege. They never said, I'm not black enough or I'm not white enough. So it's a nonsensical phrase that somebody has coined so they can further the divide and rule.
Actually, that's what is happening.
Yes, white people
divide
will
and rule.
Divide and rule.
So that you're not speaking.
So that we don't speak, not of the same mindset. So that when a colored woman congregates with an African woman, right there already they are saying, oh, okay, there are people are excluding me. We should come and understand that we didn't coin these terms, guys. They're not ours. We didn't coin these divisions.
Let's not internalize them.
Why are we owning them?
Yeah, we are owning them.
Why are we owning them? Abantu bayakhala guti, hey, some people say, I rather deal with an Indian from India than deal with an Indian from here because that divide is still there. I just feel like they feel that they are not black like me. And I'm just like, guys, educate, let's unite. They are here to stay. These are our Indians. They are here. They're going nowhere. Our kids are going to marry them. By the way, they go to school together now.
Hey, Mama. Actually, that one, stop there because while the very same inequality and poverty, which is still being perpetuated, and the oppression of, because Abantu Betu, they are in poverty. It's disheartening if you can go emakaya and see men during the week or fune function during the week. You have ibandla lamadoda, and these people are hungry. Not to say they want anything, they want food. But again, coming back to the issue of marriage, Uguti, the very same people who are still not wanting to have equality in the country, they forget Uguti. They are not living on air. They live on earth. Our kids go to school with them. Our kids will marry them. It's true what you're saying. And now what is going to happen?
What's going to happen?
I think people forget, and especially people who are the owners of this economy, because they think by keeping blacks oppressed, by removing, I'll go back to the issue at DA, Uguti, you still perpetuate Uguti when you want to still be the party, people must vote for you. I don't understand, because each and every person they attack, they'll attack a black person.
Yeah.
And they will use a black person for their own agenda.
Yeah.
After that, they dump them.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I will also say to any human being actually in the country, irrespective of race, class, let's forget about the labels. Why are we not focusing on humanity?
Yeah.
Because, you're speaking something which
Humanity
is
and
very...
development. Because we all need development.
Because you're pilapi, when you amass all these monies and dollars and everything and wealth, and you are driving on the same street we are driving.
It's like, remember Global Citizen? Remember what happened with Global Citizen? That concert, they had this concert, this high
I know
class
the
event
concert. What happened?
where they were excluded black people who were poor. They wouldn't give, they didn't have cheap tickets. Then they take that event and they put it during the black people. They put it there by Soweto.
Oh, it was in Soweto, Ghana.
It was in Soweto, and then obviously the poor attacked the rich. Obviously.
And it's going there, unfortunately. Who said, somebody who said the poor will eat?
That is exactly what happened that night. It was, because that is where we're headed to. And I don't understand the invisible hands of the economy. How can't we just all be covered?
You know why I'm laughing?
I'm just like...
I'm laughing because clearly the people here, the three of us, are political because we started off saying we're going to talk about gender. But it has migrated and put... and I guess the issue...
Politics.
The issue is the women are in the center of everything.
Yep.
So it's so hard. I'm just saying this for someone who's listening and would want to critique us.
Yes.
But women are the center. They're like the nerve cell of everything. So it's very hard to talk about women and not have inroads into everything.
We are the politics.
Busisiwe actually used a phrase that was used pre-colonially on African women, procreators. We were called procreators. Which is why you have American celebrities, or some of them misquote it, but some of them practice it right, who say the black man is God. But it wasn't said the black man is God. It was the African woman is God, because the African woman is a procreator, which is why we were the ones allowed to plant and to reap, because planting a seed must die for it to grow. So, because women get that control nerve center,
Yes.
we will talk about everything when we talk about women. I just
We
thought I
are
should
the
say
land,
that.
though.
Yeah.
We are the land.
We are the land. Yes, we are the land.
The seeds grow in us.
Yes, this is
But
growing
coming
us.
to the politics, everything we do is politics. Mina, being a public protector, yes, the issue, one of the questions was, are you a member of any political party? Because that's the criteria. You need to be apolitical, non-partisan. I'm not. But unfortunately, I operated in a political space. But now also I realize that anything you do is political. I mean, you find young people, young women, no, I'm not into politics. I mean, celebrities, artists, and whatever. You can say that, but unfortunately, you are.
You're affected.
Because uguti uya eskolweni, you are excluded, it's politics.
It's politics.
You go to medical centers, you are excluded, it's politics.
Even our gigs
Now
are
we're
political.
talking- Exactly.
Because you can't talk too much and expect to get
Hunger
gigs.
is political. also.
Right?
Exactly.
It's
So
political. I
think
mean, when we
yes.
describe black people, we say the most downtrodden or the poor,
Yes,
the poorest.
the
We don't need-
marginalized.
The marginalized. Even
It's
hunger
political.
is political.
But now, how do we then make people realize, especially women, that, and you're in a majority, I mean, it was interesting, the very same ANC has, I mean, when they voted or when they vote, you'd find that they've got a lot of female members who are voting, but they still continue voting
For men.
male candidates.
What
And
is that?
apparently they say women who in the branches are not active or they are not working hard enough.
I don't believe that.
And that's why now they came with that imposition of saying when they have their list, they'll impose men, women, men, women, men, women. Some of them are in the list, but you find that they are not doing anything.
Advocate.
Apparently, that's what they are saying.
It's the woman,
But
the man
now, how
shoes.
do we change that and have a
No.
different setup? Because I don't think we need to. I don't know. We need to entertain the issue ANC, but can we then focus
because
on
I don't think
something
it's
out
just
of
the
them?
ANC. I don't think it's just the ANC. It's just the political space, guys.
How it
because
operates.
it's like that, guys. If you want to see that it's the political space and beyond the ANC, how many women presidents have we had? I don't believe we are free, but let's take the prognosis of the so-called free America, which started with Ghana in 1957. We are now in 2023. It's how many years?
It's embarrassing.
I always go 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 20, plus minus 70 years.
Yes, yeah.
We have, how many female presidents have we produced in 54 countries? I know
Why
Joyce
is
Banda.
that?
No, but listen to this. I know Joyce Banda in Malawi, and it didn't end well. They accused her of corruption and all sorts of
was
things.
yeah.
So it's just like before Joyce Banda came, Malawi was a stable country. There was no corruption. Everything ran smoothly. She came
And she brought corruption.
Yeah, she
and
brought corruption, and then she left, and everything went smooth again. There's no longer any corruption. There's no one who's accused. Everything is hunky dory.
Yeah.
And then I also know the Liberian one,
Yes,
and she did, guys, to run a country after civil war. Ask me, I was a guerrilla, and then I was in the Navy. Civil war is the most deadly war because you don't know who the enemy is. You turn on each other, and in most civil wars, the number one weapon is rape, and it was. Now, to take a country like that and to deal with rebel groups, to deal with child soldiers who were put on drugs, who've done horrific things that they can't even fathom themselves, and to take a country like that and try and integrate it back together,
Make it human.
and make them human, thank you, Nsiki, and rehumanize it and achieve peace is such a great feat that I don't think that woman is given enough. Actually, it's Johnson, ne? I think it's Johnson.
Johnson Shem.
I'm trying to think. Someone was reminding me there was a third one. Oh yes,
Was it
Lokhethe
Brazilian?
Manje, the Tanzanian one.
Tanzania.
Yeah.
No, but remember.
Tanzania's got a female president right
Yeah,
now.
there's an issue
after the
though.
passing of-
Because we are talking politics, I can tell you on this podcast, and I'm gonna go to Tanzania next month.
I never saw deported.
I don't need a visa, fortunately. I don't need a visa to enter. But I can say it here that no, I don't quite celebrate her. Maybe it's not because of anything she has done, but
she
it's
is
because
she's
I
a
know
good
that.
woman.
No, but because I know that Magafuli was killed. I mean, I know people
Okay.
don't say this in open platforms, but me, I'm just known to say a spade is a spade and not an instrument used to dig the garden. Magafuli for me is in the line of Abo Sankara, Abo Lumumba, because like even with the issue
especially
of
during the
COVID,
issue,
Magafuli was just like, Aibo, what is this?
Inle.
Why are we vaccinating for something that has not even
I
been properly
remember what you're
defined?
saying. And the Madagascar one.
Yes.
Ah, got you.
So yeah,
What a
so yes,
coincidence
so
that
we've
they
had
should
three
pass.
thus far to go back to our definition.
But even
Siki,
Ethiopia,
we've had three.
remember Ethiopia?
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
the
talking
Ethiopian president.
1957 to now.
You should Ethiopia. There was that lady. What's her name? She was president, not a prime minister. Remember, they've got a president.
President and Prime Minister.
Yeah, she, for a few years, I don't know what happened, but it died down. Yes, so it's 3-4
Yeah.
since 1957.
You have to be a well-behaved woman to be given positions.
I think that's one because African men have themselves swallowed patriarchy, hook, line, and sinker, and they actually define it as a culture, which has convinced women too that it's a culture. So you've been asking, where do we start? I think we need to start redefining what a culture is. Proper definition, not what white people came to define us as.
because they did.
And I'll give an example to show how easy it is to redefine a people. They have a name in English called a witch doctor. I always ask people, have you ever met Inyanga Mtakati or Muloyi Mulafi Muala? Bayenzani ba alafa? Muloyi Mualafi. I don't know. Anglazi gqirha like aliko. You're either igqirha
Yeah,
or igqirha, either Inyanga or Mtakati, either Mualafi or Umuloyi. The two don't mix. But because they wanted to rubbish everything African spirituality so they can impose Christianity.
Mama,
They coined this
before
thing.
you go there, sorry, just to
No,
take it
it's
back
okay. It's a conversation.
to Johnston. Oguti, she found a country which it was after war,
Civil war.
Then it was civil war. But I just put it at the back of your mind. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
Are we not in a war as South Africa?
Okay, we'll come back to that. I think we are.
The number of women who are raped.
Yeah.
The number of kids who are, if you
just not
check
safe.
at the boys who are hooked in Inyaupe.
Okay, hold it. Please hold it, because we need to end with that part. I think she should guide us and take us back there. Because while
As
we
a
are
country.
African, we are located here. So some of the things that are happening here needs to be raised. So we have to come back to that.
So,
to come
continue.
back to you, we've only produced 3 women.
Yeah.
So that should tell you, Guti, this issue of political suppression of women is past the ANC. It's a continental thing, but it's also a global thing. As Mkhwebane
But in Europe, there's some
rightly
female
said.
presidents. I guess
Very few.
like the
very few.
Scandinavian
Britain's
countries.
had one in all its life.
Exactly. Look at
Britain's
that.
had one, Margaret Thatcher. France has never had, I think, this woman almost
Who was
won.
Koya and
Le
that-
Pen.
Wow.
Yes, and that's
No. It's very negligent throughout the world. And I don't want to talk about Asia, but I'll talk about Europe. Again, I come back to Christianity as it is being practiced. It will be negligent because remember the gender relations Christianity orders. God is a man, Jesus is a man, the disciples were men. The first priests allowed, the Catholic Church still does not allow female priests, by the way, the biggest church in Christianity. The first priests were male.
In religion.
So,
maybe let's differentiate Christianity and religion.
Yes. So,
Just, yeah.
so, but the brand of Christianity that's out there is
It's
religion,
true,
sadly.
yeah,
And the one that was
it's
brought here
true.
is religion.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
spirituality.
yeah.
It's religion
Yeah.
because it had to be tied
It was a
into
system
capitalism. It's a
that
system,
took
yeah.
away from us.
It's a system. So those I understand. It's us I don't understand. But I also understand us to a certain extent that we didn't decolonize. And because we didn't decolonize, we still run with colonial systems and with Christian
we
systems.
do, yeah.
So the oppression of women truly, how do you as a pastor abuse your power in the church, young girls, and then the church come and say, oh no, umfundisi, we can't.
Even young boys.
Or even young boys. Thank you, advocate.
Yeah.
Even young boys.
That conversation is so important.
Yes.
Because a lot of
But the
these
church
boys,
will come and protect it.
I've
you know?
noticed a lot of these men have got mother wounds, but also female wounds from being raped with their virginity. Because a lot of older women take young boys as virginity, and there's a lot of hurt that men haven't expressed about that, and it's playing out, but they're not saying, "Oh, I was raped and I'm hurting," and it's so the reason I'm a
Even the very same
pedophilia.
priest raping boys.
Born again,
Right?
I'll shock you and tell you, Guti, again, we go back to colonial systems and religion because angithi sex between men is a-religious. So you know how long we took to even say a man is, but it's sodomy. It comes from Sodom and Gomorrah. They call it sodomy. Yes. And I can ask advocate the lawyer, mhlambe, we need another session if akayibhekanga manje, because the fact that the lawyer does not mean she'll remember every law that's out there. Yes.
Our main as lawyers, you must know where to find the law. And Mama, remember, Pela Mina ETA and now the ANC, and the courts have defined me as this person who's incompetent, who doesn't know the law. Don't say that. You system, eh? So that's the legacy they would want to portray, because
Of
that's
you.
what I'm being insulted, Pela Manje. Forgetting Uguti get the very same lawyer who's applying the law with other lawyers. I use the lawyers who defend me in those courts, and some cases we win them, but I'm this person who doesn't know the law.
Yeah.
But you can continue.
That's why I mustn't say Zoschekela. So we'll come back and unpack this.
But that's
at
what
the
the
end.
system
I
does,
know.
I get you.
But I want to know the experience with other women in your space as all of this is happening.
Well, I mean, I've said it, I need during your space as well, that You find our lawyers for human rights, not those ones, but because we know where they come from, lawyers for human rights, now LRC anyway, who funds them. But then you find about Pabasa, about Black Lawyers Association, about Nadel.
Black Lawyers Association.
They are quiet. I mean, we're going back to that. They are quiet. And I mean, they forget that it's not about me. That's what I'm always saying. It's about actually every time. Hence, you said it, Doctor, that you must look behind the story. Why is this woman, or why is this man, or why are they attacking him or her so much? We need people to go behind the story and check what has she done. So they don't do that. Well, now they are still fine. But when it comes to them, there's that French author, I think I posted the last time, the one who said, they came for the Jews, I kept quiet. They came for the this, I kept quiet. When they come for me, there was no one to. Because that's the system at DA currently, where they deal with each and every Black professional, African who's succeeding, let's say, irrespective of your standing. But if you are this person who's trying to uplift the poor, the marginalized, go back and check what has happened to all of them.
It's not the DA. It's beyond the DA.
It's beyond them.
They demonize you. Remember the saying, that's why we call it multinational conglomerates, MNCs. In South Africa, we call them multinational.
White capital monopoly. Capital.
It's a monopoly. The same people who own mining companies, own the media space,
Own the
fund
funds.
universities, fund
Fund
medical
NGOs,
schools, fund
the
NGOs.
research, institutions.
So that's why I have one word for it. We kept saying, what can we do for women to wake up? We must start fighting to own what I call agenda setting. Guys, that's a big word, but it's important.
Setting, yes.
Like our own media houses, that's what you're saying, né?
But even the agenda, that's why I was making an example. They say about colored people, I wasn't white enough, now I'm not black enough. That's an agenda. Who set that agenda? Who wants colored people to run with that bullshit agenda? And I've been nice thus far.
You have actually.
Who asked colored people to own that bullshit agenda? You went black.
Agenda setting.
You should actually ask white people, because some of them were your white fathers who refused for you to classify as white. They made you colored. But we are turning your anger against us. We are telling us, now we are not black enough. No, own your space. Redefine yourself. You have a right. My dad redefined us. We are African.
We are so powerful.
So
as
asna ma
Africans.
issue.
We are so powerful and we don't realize that.
Yes. So agenda setting, guys. We need to set our own agendas. I'm coming back to say, it's the DA, they'll demonize you. It's past them. It's the capitalist system, it's the global system.
Because
before Makafuli was killed, they demonized him. By the time he dies, people say, oh, okay, maybe it's okay. That's what they do. They demonize you, leading to the point of either killing you or taking you out. So that by the time it happens, people say, you know what?
Because they've used the media.
I've met a lot of people who
say, repeated the same
I've met a lot of
message.
people even within my family. They can't tell you. They can't budge past that. It's an agenda. It's an agenda that's perpetrated and repeated all the time. When you start to go deeper, they don't know. They don't know.
Exactly.
So agenda setting is a big thing.
So it's a big
you
thing.
reminded me when you talked of NGOs. Because they use NGOs to set agendas
Everyone.
too.
I mean, Pelamina, the biggest crime was the Reserve Bank report, which I issued, CX. So hence I said, you are not touching the South because the Reserve Banks throughout the world, there's families who own them, who own the money system. And in South Africa, Mina was trying to show good Reserve Bank, why is it in the Constitution? Because you go to Britain, you go to America, it's not in the Constitution. They've got various legislations governing a Reserve Bank. But then once you touch the Reserve, you are not even touching South Africa. You are touching the very same big conglomerate. And
And it's global again. You are correct. Because even the American one is not American government owned. And
It's
you
true.
can go back
It's
to,
not.
they call them presidents, say US. I'm a president, I say US. 17 something, 18 something, when they were seeing that takeover of the Reserve Bank, listen to their quotations. I didn't know we'll talk about it because I have them topical in my mind. Listen to them say that's going to be the death of America, and did America not die? Because the American dream died in the 60s, Galo guys. There's no longer an American dream. And we all know it.
Exactly.
There's no longer an American dream.
And who's funding them? Yes.
Thank you. So this is a global system, and it makes me angry because it's like we are slumbering as the victims of this system. We are slumbering through it and joining the same agendas that are aimed at killing us. You know,
look
that
at the poverty again in Africa, when we are the richest continent on motherland.
I mean,
look at what we are doing.
Advocate, you have ECOWAS wanting to invade Niger.
Imagine.
To reverse a coup that is anti-France.
Yeah.
So I am now sitting here and asking myself, who is ECOWAS working for? For Europe, for the EU. Because it is in the EU's interest for that coup to be reversed and to put back a stooge of France on the throne. Same with Burkina Faso, same with Mali, same with Central African Republic.
There's a woman I was listening to on Twitter. This guy who likes somebody was saying ukhuluma nge-issue ye-neo-colonialism now. Ukuthi you've got black leaders, a lot of them in Africa.
Gatekeepers.
Yes, who are imposed. The person is black, but pushing white power.
Yes.
So exactly what is
I'm
happening.
a gatekeeper. I call them gatekeepers. They are keeping the gates for white monopoly capital.
Yep.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm so disappointed in Nigeria right now, you know, and I know Nigerians will want to eat me alive on social media, but I mean, I'm used to being eaten alive. And I'm still surviving despite being eaten alive. I'm disappointed because they are the main voice in ECOWAS. How is Nigeria wanting to put a pro-France stooge? And I mean, Nigeria is in West Africa. They can see the deprivation that is in West Africa. Guys, my daughter normally jokes, and she will be so angry with me because she said, I must never share this joke in public, but maybe it must be shared. My daughter normally jokes and say, if we woke up one day and the whole of West Africa was taken out of Africa, do you realize the amount of negative statistics that it will go with? And predominantly West Africa are former French colonies. And she's not saying it in a negative way. She's saying, to make a point, most underdeveloped, most coups have happened there. They've had very little democracy. Most civil wars, lack of resources, and at the same time,
minerals.
Yes,
which are they?
Rich in minerals. At the same time, what's happening to them? Their foreign reserves are kept in Paris.
What is that?
That was the condition for their so-called independence. Nigeria knows all of this.
But now
in all those countries, France keeps what it calls a cultural center, which is where they Frenchize them, if there's such a word. You know, soften them up to France. You know, France has something I have not seen with the Portuguese and even with the English.
But that's what I also said.
They have a fraternity advocate.
Visit all the French colonized countries. It's true what your daughter is saying. I mean, I also told my daughter, I don't know, we were visiting Mauritius when I was in China. Go to all the French country, or those who were colonized, indeed underdeveloped. But I'm not even well impressed with the colonized.
No.
Look at how the countries which were colonized by the so-called English.
Okay, before we come to them, because they presented different sets of problems, which must be on the table because we are one.
Yes.
My last point on France is they have something they call the survival of the French language, or it's got a sexy name, I don't know what it's called. But it's a whole association funded by France to ensure that the language French survives in these colonies. At the expense of what? Of indigenous African languages.
Of course.
And I mean, I was looking now, they elected a woman. A woman is heading it. I'm sure it's not the first time. I'm sure those are the areas where they are happy to put women in charge.
It's almost like the system is using black women against the African family.
Yes.
We're in that era, right?
What is happening? That's why, check all, yes. The African women,
English.
the decisions they
Let's come to English colonies.
Yeah.
The first thing that's going to hit you in English colonies is what is called race relations. There is no colonizer that was ruthlessly racist as the
Like
English
the
colonizer.
colonizer.
You do know apartheid as a philosophy was not coined by Afrikaners but by Britain. Of course. Of course. There is no colonizer as ruthlessly racist as the British. Here's another thing, and I'm happy we are having this conversation because I thought we are going to talk spirituality. I'm so happy to say this live. Ntsiki.
But it's also spirituality.
I
Remember
know.
the distraction they're using.
Yes,
It's
yes,
still
yes.
the best, yes.
Ntsiki, if I apply for a scholarship to France now, and my friend who lives in Burundi, Apollinaire, applies with me, the fact that he's in a former French colony
And we'll get
Give him
is
the-
gonna give him weight above me. You know that doesn't happen with Britain. They're unapologetic. Excuse my language again. They don't give a shit about what they did in the colonies. How do I still need a visa to go to Britain after all they did in the colonies, after all they stole,
They've got
after
dual
all the
citizenship.
manpower they took as slaves,
look at
after
the- look at
everything?
the gold
I
and the
still
diamonds
need a
there.
fucking visa to enter Britain. How? That
After we pay
shows,
so much rent.
that shows an unapologetic heart of a die-hard racist. That's why when people say, oh, we watched the wedding of the British royal family, I'm just like, you just told me in a sentence that you are a fool. Because I have nothing to do with that royal family.
the funeral.
I have nothing to do. Whether they die or they live, it's none of my fucking business. They just need to pay reparations for what they've done in these colonies. Then I can start engaging them.
Yeah.
They need to give more scholarship to the people they formerly
But now
colonized.
they're still
Then,
control.
you know,
They're still agenda setting.
no, but they don't even give them. You know, you can still say, I'll take it, but I know who I am, and through that agenda setting, I'll image as Ntsiki Mazwai. They don't even give them. America, that never colonized us, is a country that still gives more scholarship to English-speaking Africans than fucking Britain does. And people are not calling them out for it. It's a racist country. Now they tell us a black person is in power. I want to see what is going to change because the system.
Yeah, it's the system. Coming back to the system, we are almost there. Our system.
Yes.
Who drafted our constitution?
I have a question for you and for her. I know she's an interviewer, but because it's a discussion, maybe
Yes,
she
it's a
should talk.
discussion.
I have a question for you.
She must talk.
No, I'm here.
I have
Yeah.
a question for you.
Yes.
Do you think there was ever an intention to govern by the ruling party? Do you think they ever intended to govern?
No. I think what happened is that we were just appeased. They were given a piece of a small piece of the cake. The other day I did a diagram for people to actually understand that
I
black
saw
people have got less than 1% of the economy. So we are busy being political, we're so active, but we don't own anything, you know? So what they did was just give us that 1%, and they said, okay, share that amongst yourselves, and just like behave, make sure. So the people who have got that 1%,
If you listen
Are
to
there to
some Peter Blanche, you remember? He
Yes,
said
yes,
it.
yes.
mean,
I
you
do
go,
listen to him.
Yes, you. What did you get? I mean, yes, Mandela, the meeting, the argument, nothing.
Nothing
And
has
the very
changed.
same constitution, who drafted it?
Guys,
How does it
Thank
empower
you.
us as
Advocate.
blacks,
thank you.
there's no phrase.
Africans?
There's no phrase elingihlukumezayo enough. People always complain, Sikabakbo Kenya and whoever who follow you, but you guys speak in your language, but we can't help it. We speak our languages because we do them until grade 12. It's not a norm in African countries, by the way. They part with the mother tongue, go grade 4, grade 5. Yes, it's not a norm. And I hope we never get there. But anyway, it's besides the point.
Yeah, because
and
look at those private
Yes.
schools.
Hey, these
So-
new generation kids, the
Yeah,
Yo,
I was
guys.
saying, there is nothing engihlukumeza ngoMandela, nothing that sits me off, like the phrase he coined during the Codesa talks, called, we must be sensitive to white fears. I'm just like, dude,
When he said,
white fears, what about being sensitive to black pain, to black fear, to black deprivation? White fears, what were white people fearing? Fearing what? Fearing for Africans to get back what was stolen from them.
and we have
That's an illegitimate
we haven't
fear.
got it.
It's an illegitimate fear. That was not even supposed to be coined. Right there, we should have realized there was never an intention to govern this nonsense called South African.
That's why
There was never an intention, because you can't tell me that the things that are happening are seen by an 11-year-old, but a grown-ass man and woman who is in the governing seat cannot see it.
you know what stresses me about the current situation is that as much as we're seeing the growth of EFF, but we're just going to repeat the same cycle.
Yeah.
You know what? I said it in one of my spaces. In South Africa,
It's the same
unfortunately, it depends. Whoever is going to govern with this kind of constitution which we have, it's not the political parties who are governing.
Thank you.
Those 11 judges, that's the Constitutional Court,
Yeah.
which is a fact, because they made sure go to that constitution when it was drafted by your British and your Americans who came and assisted. It will just keep us where we are.
Yeah.
I mean, if during Mbek's time, apparently there was a stage where they had a 2/3 majority, why didn't they amend the constitution? Why didn't they remove those sunset clauses and whatever? Why didn't they deal with the provisions of the constitution as is? Unfortunately, this constitution will just repeat one and the same thing. Whoever
Do you
is
think they
coming-
even understood at the time
They
what the
no,
two-thirds majority
that's why
meant?
I say
Did
there was
they-
no intention to govern. They understood. And
Do you think they understood?
Siki, amongst these people, I'm not going to call their names
There's
out. You
somebody
had
who wrote-
lawyers,
there's somebody
you
who
had
wrote
people who
an
had
article.
masters in economics. You had educated people. I'm sorry. They knew full well.
Wow.
They
There
knew
was
full
somebody
well.
who wrote
I
an
don't have
article
proof.
about that,
And I'm sure
which
I'm going to get
apparently-
lambasted for saying this, advocate, because I don't have proof. That's why I'm not going to name names, because I don't have proof. It's just my suspicion. I believe somebody paid somebody for the nonsense on which we sit today.
Which
It
is
was
still going to
systemic.
Yeah.
Because the liberation of South Africa would have been the liberation of Africa. I mean, the songs we sang.
pacifier.
Yes. The songs we sang in the camps
Right.
were Siyeza Tina, Stweli African, we sang about Africa because we understood that while we are also a third world country like the rest, there is some leverage of first world and systems which we could have tapped into and governed right and liberated the continent. But that's one issue. But another issue is former colonizers would never allow a success story of any African
That's why
country.
they'll educate you and think
Yeah.
ukuthi uzabuya when uzoba overflow. Well, they give you the information to do that.
But for them to do the two things I've just said, they need a black face. And they found their
And
faces.
they are finding a lot of them.
And this is where we sit today. They found their faces.
Coming back, I think I'm having another meeting now. I think it's almost done. The issue here, war, which we are currently facing. So the
Yes.
first thing you said, agenda setting.
Agenda
which is very
setting.
critical. But what are we doing with this war which is waged in the country?
Against
Which
women
has-
or against Africans or against
Against-
anybody?
Against everybody. Because remember, Mina, I would say to us now, let's focus on human beings. And whoever is listening would think, hey, these ones possibly they are excluding us as other races. We are saying we are dealing with a human being. Because drug, inyaupe, iwonga,
Homelessness, school dropout,
poverty,
potholes.
the health facility. You know, a lot of people are dying in my hospitals.
I know.
They arrive there, the clinics, they don't even have a Panado. Do you know that?
I know.
Even a Panado. And what do you call that? It doesn't only affect a black African person, it affects us across the board.
Respect. So to agenda
So
setting,
the issues is the violence, the rape. Do you think, okay, possibly it happens in black shebeens or whatever, but that is also going to a situation where they will even enter those
It's
suburbs,
not just in
those
Shabeens,
high
though.
walls.
It's not just in
So
Shabeens.
what can we do?
if I can't steal
Because we are
from
in
you
war.
anymore, I steal from the one who has it.
Exactly.
Respect. You said agenda setting, togetherness. I add respect. If I'm dealing with an Indian who is a Muslim, I need to know what Islam is about for me to respect them enough.
yeah.
If they are dealing with me who is in African spirituality, they need to know that African spirituality is not witchcraft. It is spirituality in its own right.
And
And
yes,
it
and
is
respect.
way beyond Isangoma Nenyanga. It's bigger than that. That's a fraction of it. If you are dealing with a white person who is a Christian, you need to know what Christianity is about. Basically, I'm saying until we learn to respect one another and we take off the labels that apartheid gave to each and every one of us.
Sorry to just...
No, it's okay.
Cultural intelligence. That's what I learned before going to China. One of the courses I attended.
That's how Chairman Mao did it.
Cultural intelligence. Because once you respect,
Identity.
because when going there, I knew that it's not for me to judge. It's not for me to criticize their food, their language, but it's for me to live with it. It goes back to respect. Because it means when I am believing in Christian spirituality, you believing in another in spirituality, or you are a Muslim. I like that. It's an issue of respect. But unfortunately, the system has created that to break us, to divide us, and we allow it.
That's why I said, in order for us to respect each other, we need to unlearn and take off the labels that apartheid put on each and every one of us. And know that we are people in our own right, and that we all have cultures, we all have spiritualities, and that when we bring that together, we shall produce a dynamic country. But for as long as we believe what apartheid said about Indians, what apartheid said about colors, what apartheid said about white people, what it said about Africans, even the perceived or the so-called, for me, Zulu, Xhosa, hatred. No, primarily actually between Zulu and Xhosa, there's this instigation of, no Abazwani. I traveled the continent, I've been to 37 African countries, and you find this all the time where people have this notion that AmaZulu namaXhosa watandani, and I'm just like, yeah, it's an agenda that was set, I don't know by who, because historically AmaZulu namaXhosa actually have never gone to war. Kubantu shaka ba attack bonke in that nation building azange afike kwaXhosa. So angazi ukuthi mabathi abazwani into esuka kuphi. Somebody is perpetuating it. Abazwani ngoba kutheni, they're all nguni. So yini ngabazwanisi, the language is almost the same. Yini ngabazwanisi, it's agendas that are set for us, you know.
So let's go back.
Let's set our own.
Thank you, Bomama. Thank you so much for helping us launch the political series. I hope more women will get together, and now we can start mobilizing women and having these conversations with you guys. If one woman is being attacked, all of us must go stand next to her and show that she's not alone. So MOYA writes, thanks for joining. We're on a roll. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Let's grow the channel. Thank you so, so much for all your contributions. See you again.
Who are you when all you were has been diluted by lies and white lines cancelling out all that which has been written of your history? Why do you look at yourself as a mystery? Doesn't the sun shine because you open your eyes? Doesn't the moon stay situated within the same stars your DNA sparkles off? Your spirit knows that surely corner into e off. Buza umoya so you may return to being well off. Because spiritually you are rich, yet your ancestors cry because you are out of reach. But yours is to command all elements while God takes inspiration from the very mirror she looked at to become. Remember who you are and never finish just when they think that with you they are done.